Hi, I'm Carolina Espinal, founder and CEO of Mosaic Strategies and the immediate past chair of the Shot Foundation Board of Directors. I am first and foremost proud to serve on a board that values, reflects, respects, and centers diversity, equity, and inclusion. On this board, we share an unwavering commitment to education justice and racial equity, and in the Shot family, steadfast thinking and bold engagement guide every aspect of our work. I am constantly humbled by how SHOT works with grantees in service and support of local communities who are fighting through some of today's greatest challenges. As someone who started my career in civil rights advocacy, I often say that my work in service of the SHOT Foundation is really what keeps me closest and most connected to the work that matters most.
The moment is urgent. The question is whether our communities will retain democratic control of their schools, or whether privatization and private control will take over our education system. And I'm so glad to be a part of the SHOT Foundation, who is engaged with community-based approaches to education, community-engaged reform, community schools, seeing communities as the solution rather than the challenge in our local public schools.
I thought it was a really strategic use of my time to join the SHOT board because we need to fund the movement that we all are envisioning. And it's not enough just to believe that it should exist. We have to fund it, which means adding new capacity, new organizers and researchers and communicators, so that we can grow this movement, because there need to be people on the ground in cities and towns and districts all across the country. And the SHOT's Foundation's goal is to fund those organizations. And so that's why I love being part of the SHOT Foundation board. And we've done so much great progress up until this date. And I'm looking forward to a lot of great progress in the future.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Taylor Batten, President and CEO of ADFI. We are a philanthropic partnership for Black communities. And I'm also a proud board member of the SHOT Foundation for Public Education. I think the work of the foundation is critically important because it leverages the power and the interest of community. That is, the power and interest of families, parents, and students themselves on what they want to see for public education in this country. Every child deserves access to quality public education, and no one believes that more than the team at SHOT. So please join us.
Hi, my name is Valeria DeVale. I'm the co-director of Stories Inspiring Movements, SIM, and I'm a SHOT board member. SHOT's work is very important to me because every day caretakers and parents wake up to face the day and rarely get the opportunity to advocate for their children's education beyond their household. And as a first-generation college graduate, a product of Boston Public School System, and of a single-parent household, I know this reality too well, and I know that SHOT can be that bridge from home to schools for families across the country. And that's why SHOT's work is so important to me.
SHOT is bold, innovative, and a risk taker, always looking for new partners and new ways to advance our racial equity agenda.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to congratulate you and the entire SHOT family on an extraordinary 30 years. You have been such a vital part of the ecosystem for education justice. You have supported organizing efforts that include parents, caregivers, educators, young people, policymakers, and so many more. I am inspired, and I was so proud to be part of the work, and I can't wait to see what you do in your next 30 years. Congratulations, SHOT.
I am Rosa Smith, the first non-family president of the SHOT Foundation. My experience was both challenging, and then it was more rewarding than I could have ever imagined. In my saying congratulations on 30 years, I have to start by saying thank you to Jerry and Lilo Lees for their vision, for their beliefs, for their commitment, their work, and of course their money, for starting this journey and helping to get it on its feet. 30 years ago, it was critically important that all children had a good start in preschool. 30 years ago, it was important that schools were fairly, equitably, and well supported to educate their children. 30 years ago, it was really important that girls were encouraged to do well in school. 30 years ago, it was important that Black boys did not remain on the bottom of all negative factors. 30 years ago, we showed that grassroots organizing was the way to make and sustain change. This is what was important 30 years ago, and it is important now. So I ask you to join us in doing this work, to help do the heavy lifting with SHOT, to make sure our children have a chance. James Baldwin said, "These are all our children, and we will pay for or benefit by what they become." Join us in this important work. Congratulations, SHOT.
What does a great education look like to you? Our vision starts in a positive school environment rooted in a loving community, one where all students, educators, and families can thrive. But our heroes of change face big systemic threats, like an increasingly whitewashed curriculum, racially inequitable school funding, and discriminatory discipline policies that endanger kids at early ages. In the face of unjust systems, we must demand change. If not now, when? Through organizing and community building, our heroes of change advance systemic solutions like culturally responsive curriculum, equitable school funding, stronger neighborhoods with transit and green spaces, and schools that hire counselors, not cops. It's all part of creating loving communities that provide healthy and safe environments inside and outside the school. But change takes work and resources. That's where the SHOT Foundation comes in. SHOT works with donors and philanthropic partners to invest in change from the ground up. Education justice requires racial justice. We listen to and follow the lead of young people, families, and educators because investing in their work is the best way to win systemic change. Education justice is about more than building schools. It's about building hope, building joy, building opportunities for children to imagine and create their own futures, for loving communities to thrive and grow. Will communities have what they need to change the policies that affect their children's education? It's up to us. It's up to you. We've been supporting the grassroots for 30 years. With your help, we can continue the urgent task of investing in the future of the education justice movement.
Well, that animation says it all. SHOT helps facilitate change from the ground up. I hope you saw yourself in that video because you too are a hero of change. Hi, I'm Dondre Whitfield, a proud public school grad, and I am pleased to welcome you, our friends from across the country, to this culminating event in celebration of SHOT's 30th anniversary. We are activists, donors, and campaigners. We are students, parents, educators, and supporters. Today we'll be celebrating the creativity and brilliance of folks organizing for racial justice and public education. You won't be disappointed. you'll hear from SHOT's proud supporters and donors who contribute their time and money to advocate for the culturally relevant, fully funded public schools our students deserve. You'll meet some of SHOT's many outstanding partners from communities across the country. We hope the stories they'll tell will not only inspire, but motivate you to join us. Together, we are a movement, poised to represent our public school families and students, backed by financial and technical support, so we can organize and win the policies and practices that can make public education great. We are here to not only celebrate victories, but also to raise money for the Loving Communities Response Fund, a participatory fund in partnership with our National Education Justice Coalitions. You'll learn more about them shortly. But first, we have an ambitious goal to raise upwards of $200,000 tonight. Thanks to supporters like you who have contributed generously from $25 to $25,000 and to our event sponsors. We have been able to secure more than $100,000 going into tonight. Throughout the event, you will have the opportunity to support at any level you wish. And thanks to our event underwriters, 100% of funds raised tonight will support this fund. Who is more important to lay out the case for if not now, when, than SHOT Foundation's president and CEO, John Jackson? John leads the foundation's efforts to build infrastructure and sustainability for our movement. He has helped shift our country's education narrative and has gone wherever the movements needed him, from the White House to the NAACP, from advocacy to philanthropy, in boardrooms and on picket lines. He is the hashtag public school grad we need to get the job done, and without a doubt, one of our heroes of change. Here's John's take on, if not now, when.
Welcome to the SHOT Foundation's 30th anniversary virtual celebration. For more than 3 decades, the SHOT Foundation has developed the relationships, provided the support, and served as a bridge between youth, parent, educator, and BIPOC-led grassroots organizations. Why? Because what we understand is the people who are closest to the challenges should also be core to the solutions. We know that when we bridge philanthropic resources with community partners, we can create the types of sustainable movements that are necessary to expand opportunities, protect our democracy, and create loving communities for young people and their families. As a young man growing up on the south side of Chicago, attending Chicago public schools, and whose mother was a member of the local school council, I was introduced to the impact of resource inequities. As an adolescent growing up in Chicago's suburbs, attending a public school, I saw firsthand why resources matter to educators in making our public system work. Alone, none of us can bring about the types of transformative changes that are necessary to ensure that all young people have an opportunity to learn and to thrive. Simply stated, existing in silos, there's no power. Individual grant making, there's some power, but working in partnerships that are built on mutual trust, leveraging resources, bold approaches, there's infinite power. History has taught us when we invest our philanthropic resources in elevating the voices of community partners, we can win access to livable wages, access to affordable housing, increased voting protections, all of the elements necessary to ensure that every child has access to a fair and substantive opportunity to learn. During the dual COVID and racial injustice pandemic, our grantee partners called for a response fund. The SHOT Foundation quickly collaborated with donors to create the Loving Communities Rapid Response Racial Justice Fund, a participatory fund where our Education Justice Alliance partners, those closest to the challenges, make the decisions on where the dollars go. We've seen the brilliance that our public education system can produce, from doctors to educators to organizers to lawyers to our most recently appointed Supreme Court Justice, Judge Ketanji Jackson, a proud public school grad. At the same time, today, we see where our public education system and the idea of public in general is being demonized. We see far too many students being pushed out, parents locked out, educators vilified, and the rights of our young girls and women attacked. In the face of such extreme challenges, we can't wait until tomorrow to fight the battles of today. The urgency is now, and if not now, then when? So thank you for joining our 30th anniversary celebration, but more importantly, thank you for your partnership, thank you for your resources, and meeting the urgency of now, today. Enjoy our celebration, and God bless you.
Love and Community Funds helps to change people's lives directly, because there are so many people in our community that are hurting financially and emotionally, and people that are feeling disconnected relationally. And so Grassroots Arkansas was able to use some of those funds to meet people in their immediate needs, and to let our community know that just because COVID is present, that they have not been forgotten. We were so happy to be able to share gift cards and share resources to help cover mortgages, to help cover food insufficiencies that families were seeing. As far as medications were concerned, we had students who needed EpiPens, who needed medications that came up during COVID for not only themselves, but also their parents. And so we were able to be supportive in purchasing prescriptions as well. This fund has been a tremendous help in individual lives, but more importantly, collectively in our community here in Little Rock and in Arkansas.
Now that's impact. Thanks to the Love and Communities Response Fund, Anika and the Grassroots Arkansas team were able to support families in need during the pandemic by paying their rent, energy bills, and delivering gift cards for essential supplies. And that's only the beginning. Folks, this is why we're asking for your support today, to ensure that organizations like Grassroots Arkansas have resources to get them through tough times, or to meet a moment in the way they see fit. Please click that donate button on your screen to show your support. Now, how did SHOT get into all this justice building? It seems a little different from many education funders, right? Well, we've got two people who definitely can give us some insights on that. Greg and Maria Jobin Leeds. These family founders were critical in moving SHOT on its journey toward becoming a national public fund. I want to give Greg and Maria a shout out, as they are also one of our event sponsors and table hosts. Now, let's hear from these education justice supporters, their vision for SHOT, and how it all started.
The SHOT Foundation's name comes from Caroline and Sigmund Schott, who were two German Jewish refugees escaping Nazi Germany.
They left Germany because they were minorities who the government was trying to kill. So when they got here, they had a sympathy and empathy for people in our country who were not being treated well. Education was the civil rights movement of the time, and both Greg and I had our master's degrees in education. We were experienced teachers. This was where it was at for us.
Its core founding principles have always been about making public education accessible to everyone. And when we say everyone, we're particularly talking about those who are most excluded. And so it means making sure there's mental health care. It means making sure that the schools are equally funded, that there's well-trained teachers, that the libraries are full of books, that the teachers are trained, that it has all the things that we know make great education possible.
Well, what we need as a country is for all people in this country to understand that our success, our health and our well-being, and the success of our planet is all built on an excellent system of public education, and it needs to improve. And the more everybody understands that, the bigger the movement is. The reason that we took the Schott Foundation for Public Education to become a public foundation was so that it could become independent of the family that got it up and started. What we brought to it was not the experience of growing up in underfunded schools. So it was really important that we weren't deciding everything.
And it's now, I'm happy to say, it's led by those who come from the communities that are most impacted and least well served, and the folks who really know the solutions.
What Schott is offering is a form of participatory grant making, and what Schott needs is more of the large philanthropies sharing the power that they have with a smaller organization like Schott, who is so close to the actual grassroots organizations and people.
All the money being raised is going to this Loving Communities Response Fund that began around the beginning of the pandemic, that has been developed to respond to the most pressing needs.
It is led and staffed by people from the communities who are least served by our education system.
I think that's Schott throughout its history, whether it's the Campaign for Fiscal Equity or blowing the whistle on the school to prison pipeline or the Opportunity to Learn campaigns. People should be funding Schott and the Loving Communities Response Fund because they're at the cutting edge, they know what's up, and it's bold and it's powerful, and it's loving. Loving, who uses loving?
Hola, yo me llamo Lisa Vidal y soy una graduada orgullosa de la escuela pública. Mi maestro favorito, Anthony Abeson, que fue el maestro mío de actuar, bueno, me cambió la vida. Él tenía mucho amor para mí, me enseñó mucho confianza en mí y eso fue muy importante. Para mí, la educación pública es muy importante.
Thanks to my performing arts sister, Lisa Vidal, we hear you. And thanks to Greg and Maria for joining us today. We truly appreciate you. Your stewardship of this foundation was instrumental in making it what it is today, a hub of support for racial justice movements, winning equity for our students. Like in New York State, my home state, where Schott began supporting advocates working for full, equitable funding. Next, we will hear from these New York education warriors. These folks are on fire. You may have heard about them confronting New York City's mayor about the budget cuts, or their win of billions of state dollars for public education. An inspiration to advocates across the country. We salute New York's Alliance for Quality Education, or as we call them, AQE.
My name is Zakia Ansari. I am the Advocacy Director for a statewide alliance called the Alliance for Quality Education. AQE is a leading statewide advocacy group in New York, fighting for equitable funding of our public schools. For us, our goal are young people. And if you care and you think that young people across the board, no matter who they are, where they come from, whatever their zip code is, deserves access and opportunity to a high-quality public school education, then that's your center. The power of the youth voice, that we keep thinking that young people are too young to be able to articulate what it is they want and that must be adults pushing them to talk to, that's such garbage. When we know that most movements, including the civil rights movements, most folks were young.
What makes the Alliance for Quality Education unique is the way that they work with young people, parents, and grandparents across the state of New York. And their persistence, they will never take no as an answer. And I believe that that's what's led to the progress that we've seen in New York on behalf of our children and families.
The Schott Foundation was our first and our longest funder. Most of the times when we get funded, folks are like, it's 2 years, it's 3 years, if you're lucky. 20 years. 20 years. That's what we mean when we say invest. They believed in us, continue to believe in us, and it's even beyond the funding. Anything we need or even just want to talk through, we can call the Schott Foundation. Schott is willing to do whatever they need to do to ensure that our work is as successful as possible because they really understand that it's connected to the larger, bigger picture. They make you as an organization understand that It doesn't have to be just give and take. There is a way to be in community with someone who actually gives you money to do this powerful work. And it really is a friendship.
A good friend of mine, Mr. John Jackson.
First of all, let me say congratulations to all of you all.
And because they stuck with us so long, they see their investment. I remember John saying last year, was the first time I heard it, that we invested $15 million in the Alliance for Quality Education, and we got a $4 billion return. And I just was like, wow. As an organizer, you never think of it from that investment phase.
Now, when you consider their work and their impact, and more recently, pushing the New York legislature to allot $4 billion additional dollars to our school system across New York, we will take that return on investment any day.
And that's the brilliance of John and understanding that not everybody is going to connect through the heart. Many people are going to connect through the actions and the outcomes and the bottom line. SHOT is just next level. All these victories that we have wouldn't have been a victory without SHOT. The victory of the Campaign for Fiscal Equity is huge because that's how we started, but we've had some major victories over the years. We've stopped billions of dollars in cuts over the last 20 years. Those billions of cuts that we stopped add up to children having a little bit more than what they would have had, and we never have given up on that. Between stopping of cuts, stopping the privatization of our schools, just beating back a lot of things, we've had tremendous victory. Where do we see ourselves in 10 years? Wow, a decade. Oh, gosh. Part of the work that we really want to do is making sure that we create a system that we don't have to keep going back and forth, that we don't have to keep fighting to ensure that you are supporting children, that there's equitable funding of public schools. We want to end the school-to-prison pipeline. We want to make sure that we are fully funding childcare, pre-K. We want to make sure that all children across New York State over the next 10 years has access to high-quality pre-K. Right now, they don't. 80% of the children across New York State don't have access to high-quality, full-day pre-K. They're big issue areas, but I believe we can do it. If we're building the bigger we with SHOT behind us, with the narrative of decolonizing wealth, with the narrative of like, it's a we, it's all of us together to do this. SHOT's goal is to make sure people are all connected because the work that we're doing is all connected. We love being an asset. We love being a resource to other organizations. I believe we can get there. When we do, just imagine, just imagine. I'm ready for that world. We have a lot to do, and all those things only happen if we come together.
I owe a lot to the SHOT Foundation. Coming back here is a little bit like coming home, in the sense that I worked on the school finance litigation, and SHOT was really an early funder of that work. I got to work on the Title VI component of that case, where we were really able to prove that the state education finance formula had a disparate racial impact on young people of color and communities of color across the state. So I'm grateful to SHOT. And I can't say that SHOT inspired me to go into philanthropy, but I think about how SHOT positions itself vis-a-vis communities, vis-a-vis local actors all the time. And I can't say we're in the same place as the Gates Foundation, both because we're a national funder and because of some other kind of commitments to longer term issues that no one else cares about. But we have been able to partner with SHOT in small ways, and hopefully we'll expand that, because I do think that the proximate voices of folks that we work with in philanthropy are critical to driving us forward.
My name is Phil Harper, and I am a proud public school graduate from Bella Vista High School in Sacramento, California. My public school education allowed me to explore various subjects in school, and it helped me discover at an early age what my true interests and passions are. We are in a precarious time in our country. SHOT has been supporting the grassroots for 30 years and knows who to get the resources to. Please support their work with a donation today.
And now it's time to get everyone out of their seats for a few minutes with a performance from the Resistance Revival Chorus. The RRC is a collective of more than 60 women and non-binary singers who join together to breathe joy and song into the resistance. Chorus, you are letting it shine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it
Hey, what's up, y'all? Cedric the Entertainer. Public education is being under attack. Now, the reason why public education is so important to me is I grew up in a small town, Caruthersville, Missouri, before our family moved to St. Louis. Public education was the only way out for a family in a rural America. My mother, who used this system to educate herself, to go on to be a school teacher and a reading specialist for many others, is why I believe it's an integral part to getting America ahead. And it's all about individuals and families. So come on, we need to educate our public, guys, in a very smart and caring way. All right, I'll
Wow, what a performance. And shoot, all these people you're hearing from today are hashtag public school grads. That's right. What power we have and achievements we've gained. Now, you'll learn about Journey for Justice, a longtime SHOT grantee partner at the forefront of the fight for racial justice in our public schools and communities. A coalition of ed justice organizations across more than 30 cities with a vision that encompasses not just the classroom and schoolhouse, but the entire community our children, parents, and caregivers live within. Brother G2, over to you.
Journey for Justice Alliance was founded in 2012 in response to the privatization that had started here in 2003, spreading across the country.
When do we want it? Now! When do we want
We built this platform really focusing on what we wanted, which was education equity. But then the question becomes, how do we build the power? How do we build the strength to win it? And so we realized having a national organization that was guided by local issues, I want to make that very clear. We don't determine in my seat what our agenda is. We engage our members and we build our national agenda off of what the local realities are. Being isolated as a community organization is a common feeling in this work. So Journey for Justice was really formed in that spirit at first. There were no grants, it was just conference calls. And we just got on the phone together and cried together and argued and cussed together, and then started to say, well, what could we do?
I think Journey for Justice positively impacts the public education system because you have a group of parent and youth organizers who are working in concert to build a healthy living and healthy learning environment for young people and their families.
I had young people that were in a group called Voices of Youth in Chicago Education at Dyett High School. I worked with them for many years. When they realized that their school was being sabotaged and they were trying to close Dyett High School, Cassandra Neal and Diamond McCullough, two 15-year-old black girls, walked in my office, closed the door, sat down, looked me dead in the eye, and said, they are closing my school. What are we gonna do about it? Not what are you gonna do about it? What are we gonna do about it? And those two sisters became two of the primary leaders in the fight for Dyett. There would have never been a hunger strike if it was not for the youth. But those youth had the confidence to speak up for themselves because they had been in a leadership development environment. We impacted Joe Biden's education agenda. There are things that he would have never supported before that he had to support because he had to not only speak to teachers, but a few thousand parents. That's not even half of what we can accomplish, but it's an expression of what's possible.
We want Dyett! When do we want it? Now!
Schools are community institutions. So school should, as part of its mission, work to make that community a better place. And so sustainable community schools creates a localized situation where every aspect of how the school grows is informed by the entire school community. So sustainable community schools that are rooted in the belief that community wisdom and academic expertise lead to school improvement have to be supported. SHOT has been foundational to our growth. We were like, as the group Digital Underground, you say, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, right? we were really trying to make it to now where we are relatively stable with a 7-figure budget. It means the world to me in regards to having people that believe in you, having people that trust your gut. That's important. So SHOT Foundation has really been, to me, less of a foundation and more like sisters and brothers. That's how that's how I view them, you know.
It's important to support Journey for Justice and others for the long haul because this battle that we're fighting is not a sprint, it's a journey. And as they are on their journey for justice, we've got to make sure that they have the resources to sustain the journey.
I have no doubt that they're just going to continue to do what they've been doing. And as we grow, you know, we'll grow together.
Who gets to make decisions around how investments are managed? Who gets to allocate that money? And who's benefiting from that money? We see still a very small percentage of philanthropic dollars being invested in communities of color. And I feel that that's, thank you.
Thanks, G2 and everyone at J4J for your tireless activism to make community schools a reality across this country. I see many of you have been inspired by these stories. And on behalf of SHOT, thank you for donating. Wait, hold up. Uh-oh. The Hill Snowden Foundation is putting up a match. They will match every dollar up to $35,000. Wow. Okay, look, first of all, thank you, Hill Snowden. But look, we need to take advantage of this opportunity. Please donate now. Gifts and pledges of all sizes, $25, $50, $1,000 will help us get to our goal. So help us celebrate SHOT through the power of community and grassroots. Please click on that button and give right now. Come on, $35,000. Our final story today is about dignity in schools. Dignity challenges push-out in our nation's schools and advocates for the rights of every child to a quality education. They've transformed school discipline policies in cities and towns across the country, like Los Angeles, Denver, and Minneapolis. They've helped replace school cops with counselors and kept kids in classrooms learning and not sent down the school to prison pipeline. That's super important. But above all else, they demand that all students be treated with dignity and respect. That's not too much to ask for, right? Let's hear from them now.
When young people are suspended and expelled from school, they're denied their right to education.
The Dignity in Schools campaign started in 2006 when local grassroots and advocacy groups fighting to end school pushout came together to share information and strategies and to build a common framework for dignity and human rights in our schools.
And it's not just about missing class time and being removed from the classroom, it's also about depriving their fundamental human right to dignity. Young people are mistreated, parents are mistreated by the school system. And that's really why we called ourselves the Dignity in Schools campaign, because it was about bringing dignity back to schools, making sure that young people and parents, especially young people and parents of color, are treated with dignity.
The Dignity in Schools campaign centers the organizing of youth and parent groups because they are in the best position to say what needs to change in our schools and what solutions will work best in their communities.
Strong relationships between young people and adults in the school building lead to better academic outcomes, leads to young people being engaged in the school, leads to young people taking leadership in their own education and shaping their school community the way that they want it to be. The skills young people learn in schools through things like restorative justice, conflict resolution, social emotional learning, translate to skills for the rest of their lives that help them in college, in the workplace, in their relationships with their families.
SHOT has supported DSC as a partner for many years. We have been able to work together collaboratively and have developed an ongoing relationship.
The Schott Foundation has funded the Dignity in Schools campaign for over 10 years. They've been an amazing partner in this work. They've helped introduce us to other funders, but they've also really been a partner in the organizing, in the policy work, working together, supporting our member organizations through direct grants to grassroots groups on the ground, as well as to the Dignity in Schools campaign to support our staff and the support we give to local groups.
At the end of the day, our young people want to ask the question, does this system care about me? Does this system love me? And so our job is to build the types of loving systems where all young people can thrive, regardless of zip code, regardless of background. We want to create loving communities.
The Schott Foundation staff have always been really supportive and collaborative. We've always been able to talk to them about the challenges we're facing and work together to think through solutions. They've also really helped us connect to other funders and even other grassroots coalitions and policy organizations that they fund, helping to make the movement stronger. It's incredibly important that other philanthropists support the Schott Foundation because they are working directly with small grassroots groups that often have a really hard time finding sources of funding from larger foundations. So the Schott Foundation helps pass through dollars down to the ground where they're really needed. In the next several years, we want to continue to fight to remove police from schools and reduce suspensions and expulsions. More than just stopping these negative policies that push young people out of school, we also want to transform schools' climates, introducing restorative justice, social emotional learning, and other positive approaches that are culturally affirming and support young people in succeeding in schools.
This is a critical moment to fight back, building upon the 2020 uprisings and the growing police-free schools movement to create schools that actually meet the needs of students, parents, and our communities.
It's important for everyone to continue funding grassroots organizations on the ground to change their communities, including supporting the Schott Foundation.
I'm telling you, I am truly inspired by these heroes, and I hope you are too. Show your support by donating now. Go ahead, click on that button now. While you're doing that, we're gonna hear a personal inspiration story, as if we haven't heard enough. I am truly excited about our next guest. He is a public school grad, of course, a parent, a justice warrior, and an artist. His work inspired the television show Woke. With no further ado, Keith Knight, please share your personal story with us.
Hey, I'm Keith Knight, gentleman cartoonist. I remember doing a strip about a study that said that when a black student has one black teacher, just one black teacher within grade school from kindergarten to 12th grade, their likelihood of going to college goes up 32%. I never had a black teacher teaching during that period, although I had one substitute teacher who was black and had a huge effect on me. And the fact that he was an aspiring cartoonist. So when he was substituting a class, he would have basically a study class. So the students could just do whatever they wanted. And he would sit up there and he would just doodle at his desk. And the great thing is he would allow me to bring my chair up beside his desk. And we'd sit along and doodle together. And we would draw cityscapes and cars and buildings and just talk about craft. It really was like this amazing education because here was this person that looked like me that wanted to do what I wanted to do. And it meant the world to me. It said to me, this is something that I could do. My first real black teacher that taught a class was not until I was a junior in college, and that was American literature. And he assigned us the writers James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, Richard Bright, and Ralph Ellison. And when someone brought up the question, hey, why are you giving us all black writers? He said, I'm giving you all American writers. And boom, that just blew my mind because we are taught every year that American literature is Mark Twain and Walden Pond. And here was a teacher working within the system to subvert the system and tell us that we're not getting all the education that we should be getting. My work went from being about keg parties to being about what it's like to be a black man growing up in America after that class. I learned so much from it, so much so that I wanted to reach out to the teacher just to thank him for really changing the trajectory of what my work was. And so I tried to look him up on the internet, and it turned out he had died the year before. And the only thing I could find online was his obituary. But in that obituary, it said that he was dedicated to uplifting and educating his people. And I am the very essence of what he was trying to do. So I thank him, and I hope that he left this earth knowing that he did that for, I'm sure, generations of people. Thank you to the Schott Foundation for Public Education for your commitment to education and racial justice. We are all in this together.
Thank you, Keith, for sharing your story about your public school experience that inspired you to be a cartoonist, and a great one, I might add. The opportunity to learn through public education should be afforded to every single child of every race, of every class, and every town and city in this country. We are facing politicians who are using race to divide us and fomenting division and disinformation. But we know that people support their public schools, teachers, and education. We also know when we bring people together, we win. With your support, we win better and faster. What incredible success tonight. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. You will have the opportunity to do more. The fundraiser for this event will remain open through Friday night. If you haven't done so yet, please donate now. Every single dollar makes a difference. We need you to join us. As we say goodnight, I just want to share a little story with you. If you've ever walked down a street that's been nothing but concrete, and you spot a flower growing in the midst of that concrete, I want you to think of me. That's my story. It's the story of so many students. I was the flower that grew out of the concrete because 3 incredible teachers watered me. Our students need teachers to water them. Your donation allows us to be able to provide them the resources that they need to be that flower that grows through the concrete. Thank you.
Join us because you've seen the power of grassroots organizing.
Join us because we need a great public education system, and Schott knows how to do it.
We need you to join us because we don't need to lose another public school. We don't need to tell another child that we don't have enough money to take care of their educational needs and concerns.
We need education justice now.
Join us to create dignity in schools.
Join us because the Schott Foundation is committed to public education. Public education is the compass of our democracy.
Our only limitations are the ones that we accept.
Join us because we're making a difference in the lives of all children.
Join us because our children are worthy.
Join us because the Loving Communities Response Fund is so powerful and is driven by those who are closest to the pain.
Join us because we're stronger together.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Deep down